speak of African designs, actually, I'm very excited about this panel. I'm very excited about what we're going to further get to know, because essentially it's about, there's a lot of times that you see a label or you see like a print and you think, okay, this must be it. This is what it stands for. It says I'm a feminist, or we fight racism. But is that really the case? Is that actually enough? What can we do? So I'm very, very, very excited. We have digitally, from what I understood, Sydney Emeka Nwakanma. He's a fellow Nigerian. He's Igbo, because I'm Igbo, so I'm really happy to see. Emeka is a name means Chukwu. Emeka means God has done so much. So I'm glad that you're here.
Oh,
My Igbo name is Uzoma. That means good road. So I'm glad you're here. Yes, we are here. Also, we have Susanne Kienast, who is the CEO of and founder of Nina Rain. Is she? Yes. Welcome her to the stage. Applause, please. Thank you. And we have Kiala Kansi. Applause. She's the co-founder of NNB, which stands for Noni Benin. I think I'll just sit here. I'm glad to have you guys here. How have you been? Yes? Vibe is okay. I want to get into your brand, Kiala, directly. It has Benin in the name, Benin, a West African country. Why? What is it about? What is your brand about?
So Noni Benin, Noni is actually the name of our mother brand. It's a brand that since I think now 12 years actually makes dindle out of wax prints, the African fabrics that we all basically know. And then after some time, my auntie's actually originally from Cameroon. It's a family business, by the way. So yeah, my aunties are from Cameroon, and which is really randomly met Justine, which is from Benin, and they started a little project with her together, where they invited her to Germany to learn how to sew and make a little, let's say, workshop in their ateliers, and. They realized after having her there that this could actually be an option or an opportunity for her to go back and teach other women and men to learn how to sew, and actually what she learned, bring it on to other people. So it's a train-the-trainer thing. And when they realized that, they started looking for funding and starting to make like a bigger project that was called Project Justine, named after Justine, the lady that was visiting my aunties. And this exists now like since 6 years. They're working very hard to get it done and to build their own education center. In Benin. That's why we have Noni Benin, because we realized that if we are building our center and we have women and men that learn how to sew and that finish their education, the most important thing is that after we provide work. We cannot just leave them out there with, oh yeah, I'm done with the certificate, but then what, So that is one thing that we want to sustainably help people. So the plan was in the end to have a brand, which then is Noni Benin, that actually fuels the people and this project with work. And so this is basically what Noni Benin stands for. That's why Noni Benin was created. And I think also, since Noni is focusing more on the dindle, it's focusing more on a little bit more couture, let's say, dresses and fashion. We're looking for streetwear in Noni Benin. We're a younger brand. We're trying to bring these fabrics and bring this vibe in a different way to our peoples. Like what I'm wearing right now, for example.
Really nice. I want to tie this back to Sydney. Your company, Emeka Suits, is described as a black and a green lifestyle enterprise. So we had Kiala explain that Benin is an African country, which is a prominent name of the brand, and then you yourself referring to your enterprise as black specifically. So why do you think it's important to verbalize or signalize to the outside world that there's also this black nature to your enterprise?
Yes, similar to what Nini Berlin was saying. Well, where I'm hearing myself double. One sec. That, you know, one part of it is definitely to highlight, you know, that we're producing in Africa, and like just highlighting the whole narrative of like Africa has more to offer that a lot of people, you know, think, or like the stereotype of like Africa as like a poor or, you know, developing country, or however you want to phrase it, is kind of like outdated, and there's so much craftsmanship, so much artistry there, that it's important to show people like, look, this is actually from Africa. Like you didn't expect that, but it's really from there, you know. And but well, we said black and green because the sustainable narrative is something that is not yet highlighted, connecting to Africa or in general black culture. And in the end, it's about like creating a holistic idea of what, you know, fashion can be, because we think sustainability to the end arrive again at a black narrative, right? Because I'm going to explain that later on, but like your old clothes end up in Africa and have severe effects and stuff like that. So if you think sustainability to the end, you will automatically arrive at the black narrative. So I see a very clear link between black and green, and that's why we call it the black and green.
But can you maybe explain Emeka Suits, your brand? What makes it a black enterprise? Does that mean all the people that work there are black and African? Does that mean it's a spirit of mindset? It's an anti-racist organization? Take us maybe, how do these things happen? Where do you produce it? Is it in Nigeria actually, or is it in other African countries? So maybe give us like an overview about Emeka Suits and what makes it black.
Yeah, we're producing in Kenya and in Ghana. We're working together with tailor collectives that are women-led, you know, local women in rural areas of Kenya, and now also in Accra. The style that we choose is heavily inspired from, you know, what people wear in Africa actually, like in the sense of like, you know, two-piece outfits with a bit more color, a bit more, you know, shine to it. That is, yeah, that's really how we are highlighting the black narrative.
I want to tie this back to Susanne. So obviously, in your brand, it's not about an Afro aesthetic, but it's about femininity. It's about women also are people who are treated as women in a society as the target group. How important do you think it is that when you represent something in the outside, you want to internally also make sure we are a company that has these values of gender equality, so on and so forth?
Well, I start with what we do, okay? We do like sustainable business wear for women. And yeah, internally, for us it's important that we do clothes we really can stand behind. And we are actually, at the moment, we are almost only women working in the company. It's not that we do exclude men. It's just how it came, and we're a very tiny company still. And yeah, we want to give women the opportunity to dress ecological, but in a business context, because we have not seen so much offer in that area. So you can really have a sustainable lifestyle, even if you're the boss of a company.
But we just had that conversation about getting rid of gender. Mm-hmm. So what is a woman professional look?
For us, no, we do have, well, how to say, we do have clothes that we fit to female bodies, sort of. In the end, we don't focus on, well, whoever wants to buy the clothes, of course, can buy them, but you have to, being a small company, you have to find a fit, sort of, you know? So I'm happy with anybody who likes our company, but being women, for us, and from our business background, from our education, where we come from, we have always working in women's clothing companies. Mm-hmm. That's why we do what we can. So I couldn't, for the moment, we couldn't make a suit for men because we don't know how to. We don't have the knowledge in the company We could work
I'm
on
not
it.
sure
but
you can do a suit for men. It's just, I mean, I feel like depending on the man and the woman, you know.
No, depending on everybody.
Yeah.
We're happy with anybody who likes
Yeah.
us, but our focus is
The target audience is.
No,
Yeah.
women.
Fair enough. I want to know, like, there's so many big companies who will then say, you know, like, feminist or black power, or I don't know, whatever they're going to print on their shirts. As somebody who is dedicated specifically to empowering women, where that's organically part of the conception, how do you view bigger brands co-opting these types of messages? Do you think it's good because at least a positive message is sent out there? Do you embrace like a big retailer making a feminist campaign, or are you very more so skeptical and critical of such things?
For me?
Yes.
Well, I personally am more critical about it, and it always depends on who buys it. I think there are a lot of people who don't have the consciousness about it and who are not educated or are very young, and I don't want to blame them because they wear a feminist T-shirt, but having more experience in life, being older, or especially people who work in their companies for diversity or for environment or whatever jobs you can have, I think then you're at the point where you cannot just wear any clothing. Then you really have to have a look at what you wear.
I want to bring this question also to you, Kiala. How do you feel about that? Like because on one hand, it's a great message. For example, also like if more African prints are being incorporated in big retail stores, the youth will see it. So they will feel like, oh, you know, it's the popular thing now, so I will wear it as well. You know, so it actually has a good effect on a lot of people because they feel like, you know, if these big brands show that you can wear these prints, then I want to wear these prints too. But at the same time, it's companies who probably don't care at all about working conditions of people in the global south or in African countries. So how do you view this sort of co-opting of, you know, marginalized identities by bigger brands?
I think it's complicated in the sense that the bigger brands not necessarily consciously choose this to do better, but they know that this is going to be trendy and that's why they use it. And I think if that comes from this aspect, and if it's not communicated in the right way, so that you actually feel that they understood what they're talking about, and they also communicate it to the world outside, so that the world knows what they're wearing if they're wearing this, then that's something different. But I think obviously everyone should wear whatever they want as long as they don't look, verkleidet. I don't know how you say it. You know, that's the thing that I believe in. If you feel that that's your style, and if you can really rock it because you believe in this and you have a personal connection in any kind of way to this, then that's a different thing. But if you look like you actually put something on and it's not your identity, not because of where you're from or who you are, but basically of what you know. Because I have a cousin, she has like maybe a quarter of Cameroonian in herself. She doesn't look like it though, but if she wears braids, what would she say? And what would people say on the street? You know what I mean? So there's these kind of things where you have to have your own very much strong identity to what you're wearing and how you're wearing it. And then the bigger companies, I think, need to watch out with how they're communicating these kind of things.
Because I was going to say, that's an individual. So if you're an individual customer and you buy whatever you want, that's one thing. You can also we can have this discussion as well, you know, where does cultural appropriation begin and where is it negative potentially? But the thing is, it's about people making money, so it's about the companies. And then, again, like, I feel like it can have a good effect, I guess, because things are normalized and you're like, oh, it's a feminist message, which is actually a good message on a bad company. So I don't know, maybe Emeka or Sydney, you have some thoughts about this whole discussion around who gets to sell which product. Like, do you feel, let's say for example, African prints or like a lot of the color schemes or in Nigeria they call it Ankara, all of this is being co-opted by bigger brands. Would you be like, yes, this is amazing because when they blow up, then I blow up as well, and then more people get to find out where the real stuff comes from, or do you not want this to happen?
I find that difficult to say because also, I mean, firstly, we are not using Ankara fabrics, and Ankara fabrics nice and dope and everything. But if you look into that history, even it's like it's also not, you know, it's actually not really African, right? Like it comes from Bali, Indonesia, and got then, you know, from the Dutch colonials, they took it, industrialized it, blah blah blah. It's a long story. So I feel like okay, if someone would take Ankara fabrics and blow it up and it becomes the next big in Europe and America, I'm like, okay, you think we're all now like celebrating Africa, whereas Africa is much more diverse than that, you know, like the African style and the African culture is much more than colorful fabrics, right? And it's actually also evolving right now and like constantly, right? So in the point of like, you know, would I find that appropriation or appreciation or something like that? I think it really comes down to context. If you put it in correct context, you give people a background to the fabric. Like, what's the story behind it? What am I wearing here? Does that have a meaning to a culture that is not mine? If it has a meaning, am I misusing that when I wear it to like a festival and get drunk in it or something? You understand? So I feel like the answers to these questions are super diverse. It's super difficult to nail down. Like this is appropriation, this is appreciation, you know. And I think it's also a constantly evolving process for all of us to figure it out.
I mean, the problem I guess that could arise is you have something that is really great, or really, it happens in music all the time. Like a big artist knows something, he hears something in the club, and like, oh, I like this song, it's not even known in the world, let me just take this and sell it to the world. And then where does it end? So it is diverse, it is difficult, because at the same time, if he does the music really well, and the same way if the designer does really great designs and they're good and they're actually sustainable, and then you actually tell in a press release, well, I was inspired when I traveled the streets of wherever, then maybe it's, so it's not as simple as you are this color and you can't wear that. I think that's something that a lot of people need to understand, that it's more complex than that. Kiela, you have a project which is called Project Justine, which is about empowering young people. Maybe you can touch on that and the type of, content or conversations that you have when it comes to this project.
What do you mean with conversations when I talk about this project? Sorry.
Well, when you do the work and you empower young people, what are the key points, or what is the
okay. So what I talked to you before, like the Project Justine, how it started, I told you guys already, like through this lady that came and visited the ateliers of my aunties. And so right now we're having, I think, 15 or 20, no, it's 20 already. We have 20 students right now, and 5 of them are already done. So what happens right now is actually the ones that are done, they help the ones that need to learn right now, and they're like the masters of the atelier, which is really cool because it gets into this like circle. And right now we're still building on our atelier, so we're having a collaboration with another with another project that is in the same city as our city, which is Natitengu in the north of Benin. And they provided us with some rooms until now for our ateliers. And so now we're building our own at the same time. So we literally, I think 1 or 2 years just started with really taking on people. Before it was like 3-4 people, now we're actually at 20. And we're building up the school system. So if you say conversation, I guess it's about that, no? Like what is it that, apart from learning how to sew, we want to actually teach people? What is the exchange that we're going to go into? What is the system that exists already? Is like school systems, and what we can bring on top of that? Because, for example, when we came, like 1.5 years actually ago, and right now, and we saw how Justine is teaching the little ones, the young ones, the younger ones. It was really interesting because she was sitting on the machine and there was 3 people standing around her looking at her, but they were actually not doing it themselves. So this is something where we were like, oh, okay, this is a system that's still coming from colonialism, actually, that you have to sit and watch, and then after you you maybe be able to go on the machine. So it's not very interactive, it's not very hands-on, it's not very like direct. So this is something what we realized, okay, we actually should change this. This is something where we need to go in and be like, okay, we need to provide enough machines so everyone can sit on a machine and actually have a productive way of learning. And it's not just a yes teacher, yes ma'am, yes, because it's always this. Like I remember we were going into a university and we came there and then they all stood up at the same time, like people our age. They were all standing up at the same time and they were talking exactly what the teacher said, like they recited the teacher. And I was like, wow. I don't know when I saw this the last time happening like this, and this is like, it's traces of, it looks like military, but it's a university actually where people should use their own brain. So I think it's really important that this is something that goes into our project and the way that we want to teach, apart from teaching sewing. I think it's really important to teach that you use your own brain and that you use your own creativity and you use your own, this is like this is like that. What could be the solution to this and how can I make something out of this? Because I think this is something that gets lost or is lost or has been lost, let's say like that, in school systems. It's very, very, very sad to see that. And I think it's something that needs to be changed. And that's all I can say.
Suzanne, in your brand, it's about female empowerment as well and professional femininity. So how do you think fashion can contribute to that message? Like, can you actually empower women through fashion? And if so, how do you do that? How does that work?
What we do is in our production chain, we are not working with big companies. We're not working with factories that sew for us. We are working with single ladies who work at home. Yeah, it's a strange word, but we are producing. Because of we have connections and because of sustainability reasons, we produce in Europe. And the people who sew for us can work at home and when they want. That's something that has been common before, like 20 or 30 years ago. It was normal that everybody could do that. As companies were working in that way. Also in Munich, for example, there were a lot of people sewing at home. But it doesn't happen anymore. They have, it has disappeared. The office of doing this.
So by having the women sew at home, you empower them?
Yeah, no, we give them the opportunity to not go to the factory and to have a boss and a boss and a boss and to get a minimum salary because they negotiate with us their salaries. They work.
Also, they're freelance.
Yeah, they're freelance ladies, and we. But pardon? They have,
so they have children.
They can work from when they want, where they want. We do not. We don't stand there with the watch and say like, okay, now 5 minutes, the next one and next one, and so they have quite free way of working, and they can also contribute their ideas when they have better ideas of how we can make it or what we could change. We interact with them.
I'm sure you get a lot of like appreciative feedback, like, oh my God, like this is cool to work like this. Like, does that get back to you that people like really appreciate this type of?
They appreciate it, but they're really not used to it sometimes because sometimes they're struggling and they have problems and they don't tell us. Like they don't get the garments cut in the right way, whatever, things like that, and they just don't say it because they're used to not complaining. It's complaining for them. But for us, it's like, no, talk to us, tell us. It's good to know. Yeah. So it's super interesting what you're doing because the people who work for us are getting older and older because there is nobody coming after learning the sewing thing, craftsmanship. So it's really interesting how you do it and what you do because at some point we will have to get younger people into our company.
Absolutely. Sydney, is that something you can relate to, like as far as, are there any practices within your company or conversations that you have with people you work with where it is also about like conveying a message of empowering or changing some of the narratives?
I think it's not as conscious to me actually. It's a lot more organic in the sense of like the company is set up in a way that is, doing exactly this sort of work that we envision it to do, right? So it's not that we sit down and we're like, how can we, empower the African continent more or something. It's like the very way how the brand is set up right now is made that way. So we just need to think of like, how can we make this better? How can we make this more functioning, work smoother, It has also a lot to do with communication. Like I'm always between Berlin and Africa, and it's like really difficult to juggle all of this. So it's actually it's more organic. We're just we're being in a lot of contact with our partners in Kenya and Ghana, and talking to them, understanding how they work, how we can make the production chain smoother, how we can make deliveries better, and stuff like that, and then also making sure that it's like everyone is happy during the process, right? So, yeah.
Are you said that you produce in Kenya, amongst other regions. Are you also involved in the fashion industry in those countries as well? Like, do you get an overview of how things are happening over there?
Yes, I mean, to some extent, yes. The fashion industry in Kenya is actually very small. You have some very dope, amazing designers there. But like if you look at the industry, like, the big players who produce large quantities and stuff like this, they barely exist. There's like maybe one manufacturer or something in Nairobi, and I think that's about it. And the reason for that is really the second-hand clothing market, right? Like I wanted to link to that anyway, so maybe I can go
Yes.
ahead and tell about that. It's basically when we throw stuff into the Altkleidersammlung, right? Like the bins where we are donating clothes, they get sorted, and like the less quality things, they get wrapped up in bales and get sent to Africa, where they then get sold to like market people who sell them in large quantities on these second-hand markets all over Africa. And it has several effects because people don't buy locally produced stuff anymore. It's cheaper to buy the old cloth from Global North than buying something from your local manufacturer. And unfortunately, the quality of the cloth that's coming from the Global North is so poor because of fast fashion that half of the stuff that arrives there ends up on a dumping site or in the environment without proper waste management and stuff like this, right? So basically what is happening is that Global North is like disposing their textile waste to the Global South, who's least equipped to deal with it. And yeah, tailors are losing their work. The environment is getting harmed because these piles of clothes are just like piling up, burning. The chemicals from the colors go into the potter, stuff like this.
No, but people think they're doing something good because you want to do something for charity. You give, clothes to the poor, to the destitute. But really, what happens? You actually, to a negative extent, affect or ruin the local fashion industries or the local production because they cannot keep up with those cheap throwaway clothes. So I think this is something that's very important to reflect upon, how our waste that we think is going to be reused is actually affecting other markets. Kiala, you want to touch on this? Yes, absolutely.
I think it's really interesting because it's not just the waste, it's also, I think, the quality of fabric and the quality of sewing that you have in the countries. Because you do have, as you say, like you have like large production companies that do, and they have like a good quality, but like the little sewer maybe on the street or the little woman that does her like job in her shop, sometimes the quality that she has of fabrics, which also come from China a lot of times, it's not always the Vlisco wonderful wax print that is really expensive there actually, and that comes from Netherlands. Sometimes it's like the replicas that come from China. So you have like fabrics that make you sweat, fabrics that like wear off way faster, and so that's also a problem I think that comes in. And then also the quality of sewing, because then, like, I know we all bought clothes already at home, and we go home and then you come home back to Germany and you turn it around and it suddenly goes like this and does like their own thing after washing it once or whatever, and you realize that you actually cannot enjoy it as much as you wanted to. So I think this is like things that, like, if you can improve this, like, if you can improve knowledge, and if you can also improve this, like, how you say, like, wertschätzen, I don't know, appreciation of a certain kind of quality.
So you're saying there's various, in many African countries, they don't have access to higher quality fabrics, which makes their own products less competitive in the market. They do
have the access, but it's way more expensive. And a lot of times, obviously, if you don't have this, then you, like, then you just go for the cheaper one. You know what I mean? And they
Yes.
know, like the guys that sell the fabrics, they know, like this is the good. Like they tell you, this is the good quality, 100% cotton. You know, but you need to like really check, because even if they say you, sometimes it's not the one. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes,
But
yes.
like that's the thing about the quality. A lot of times also.
So, do we not go to the Kleidersammlung and send our clothes? Is that something that we shouldn't do, Sydney? Is that what you're saying? When you look at the conversations that you've had in these markets, is that actually more detrimental to the cost? Do you think actually maybe politically something needs to happen, that this is not allowed, that we don't dump any of our clothes to these countries because it just has too many negative effects?
Yeah, that's a question I get often when people learn about the story. They're like, oh shit, I didn't know I was doing something wrong or doing something harmful. But again, also here, the story is so much more complex than that, you know, because in the end, also these clothes are giving a lot of people work. Like on these markets, there are mainly women working there who can put their kids to school from it and stuff like this, you know. So it's like also there, it's a market, like it's an industry. It's not a very sustainable industry because it lives off the you know, the rest of another society. It's a bit, you know, it's a bit like a hand-me-down sort of industry they are blossoming on, you know. So I think it's not a long-term solution. I think for people that are worried about what to do is, again, the same things that most of you guys know already, you know, like buy higher quality fabrics if you can, use your clothing for longer, reuse your cloth, and if you want to put stuff into the Kleidersammlung, make sure it's actually something that someone over there can still use. You understand? Because if it's like ripped and dirty and stains and stuff, and you're like, you don't want to throw it in the bin, so you throw it in this Kleidersammlung, like what? You know, then it's really just going to end up on a landfill in Africa. Like, you didn't solve the problem.
I think if you don't think somebody here in Germany would wear it, why would somebody in any other country wear it? You know, we all have the same needs, the same bodies. We all so I think that's a good statement. I want to open this room and allow people to maybe ask a question. The microphone will be handed around. So if there's something you want to know about, you know, female empowerment in clothing, about any of the topics we talked about, then raise your hand. I saw one, yes. Thank you so much. I don't even know, everybody seems to be native in German, but we just rock, du kannst auch auf Deutsch.
Ja, es wäre mir,
Alles gut, kein Problem.
Okay, cool. Genau, also das ist ein höchst politisches Thema. Ne? Also
Ja.
wir sind ja hier nicht nur bei Modedesignern und Menschen, die hier Arbeit leisten, sondern eigentlich auch in einem Widerstand gegen eine super große Industrie, ne? Die halt Menschen ausbeutet und auf Basis der Ausbeutung eben günstige Preise für Klamotten ne? hat, so, wo man auch mit bedenken muss, ne? Nicht jeder kann sich nachhaltige Kleidung in Deutschland leisten. So, und das wiederum ist halt im Wettbewerb. Also wie hält man das Ganze aufrecht? Du hast die Frage gestellt vorhin, Malcolm, und zwar im Vergleich mit Großunternehmen, ne, also mit Konzernen, und die halt meistens eben weiße Männer an der Spitze haben, und gerade ist der Trend Diversity, ja, also ich habe ein Problem mit dem Begriff, ich finde nicht, dass ich diverse bin, ich finde, ich bin cool, ich bin toll und ich bin individuell und ein normaler Mensch. Aber Menschen sehen mein optisches oder halt auch viele verschiedene Menschen, unterschiedliche sexuelle Orientierungen oder eben, ne? Also wir haben hier, aktuell ist das so ein Trend, habe ich das Gefühl, Diversity, und bald kann es sein, dass es kein Trend mehr ist. Also wir haben jetzt in den USA mitbekommen, wie Frauenrechte gerade wieder eingeschnitten wurden. Das heißt, es ist temporär. Und jetzt wäre die Frage, wie können wir es hinkriegen oder wie könnt ihr es, was ist eure Idee, das Ganze nachhaltig auf eine Ebene zu bringen, dass eben nicht irgendwann wieder irgendwelche weißen Männer kommen und dann alles wieder kippen, so, ne? Und wir dann halt, weil das ist halt der Punkt, das ist Mode, klar, es hat halt einen wirtschaftlichen Hintergrund, auch da fließt Geld, super viel Geld. Aber gleichzeitig ist es auch ein Widerstand und ein Empowerment für Jugendliche, für Kinder, also für BIPOC und also das wäre jetzt meine Frage, wie wollt ihr das Ganze aufrechterhalten und wie wollt ihr, also das ist nämlich eine harte Arbeit und ich finde es super, dass ihr hier seid, bin echt ein bisschen so Hut ab, ja, für eure Arbeit, weil ihr müsst da echt gegen eine riesen Industrie ankämpfen. Und jetzt wäre die Frage, was ist euer Plan für die nächsten 5 bis 10, vielleicht 20 Jahre? Wie wollt ihr das Ganze so aufrechterhalten, dass ihr halt gegen H&M und gegen, weiß ich nicht, Piken Kloppenburg und so weiter mithalten könnt?
Sehr großes Thema, ich versuche es irgendwie mal zu streamlinen. Ich denke mir dann natürlich auch so, macht es einen Unterschied, wenn jetzt die Chefin von H&M eine schwarze Transfrau ist? I don't think so, es ist halt genau dasselbe. Also nur weil ein Unternehmen dann diverser aufgestellt ist, aber vielleicht seht ihr das auch anders, es gab ja auch, ich meine, viel Respekt auch so für Virgil Abloh und seine Arbeit, aber am Ende sind es ja trotzdem riesige Konzerne, wo nur weil man jetzt halt dann was für die schwarze Community macht, wenn halt Menschen im globalen Süden ausgebeutet werden, weiß ich nicht, wie viel das etwas bringt. Aber die Frage ist so sozusagen, jetzt könnte das einen Aufwind geben oder einen Trend, Nachhaltigkeit, diskriminierungskritisch und so. Was ist eure Strategie, um das aufrechtzuerhalten, dass es weitergeht die nächsten Jahre? Kerle, du bist schon so, du bist so engaged.
Ich finde die Frage super cool. Ich glaube, was als erstes richtig wichtig ist, ich sehe H&M nicht als meine Konkurrenz. Sehe ich gar nicht. Ich bin erstmal zu klein und ich fokussiere mich auf etwas ganz anderes. Ich versuche mit einer ganz anderen Philosophie an die Sache ranzugehen und das werde ich für immer, egal wie viele Jahre. Das heißt, H&M ist für mich, oder Pico und Kloppen oder wer auch immer da oben draußen ist, die sind für mich keine Konkurrenz, weil ich werde auch nie die gleiche, natürlich schon manchmal, hoffentlich, die gleiche Person ansprechen, aber das sind gar nicht die Menschen, die bei H&M einkaufen, jeder soll kaufen, was er möchte, aber es ist eigentlich nicht unbedingt meine Zielgruppe, beziehungsweise es ist auch nicht unbedingt jemand, zu dem ich aufschaue und, weißt du, ich möchte nicht das sein. Und ich glaube, das werde ich nie sein wollen. Das ist eine Sache und ich glaube, auf der anderen Seite, glaube ich, kommt auch noch dazu, dass eine ganz wichtige Sache bei Nachhaltigkeit oder was auch immer man halt nach draußen trägt, ich glaube, es ist ganz wichtig, dass man trotzdem immer kreativ bleibt. Ich glaube, so hält man sich über Wasser. Mit ich sag mal, mit der Kreativität, die wir, nicht mal nur meine, sondern der wir im Team haben und mit dem Backing von unserem natürlich sozialen Projekt, was da drin steht. Aber es geht um die Kreativität. Wir haben Bock auf die Farben, wir haben Bock auf das, was wir tragen und wir werden immer Bock drauf haben. Das ist nicht etwas, was nur zeitweise jetzt nachhaltig ist und deswegen ist es trendy und deswegen will es jeder, sondern wir wollen eigentlich, will ich rausgehen mit diesem Suit und sagen so, und angesprochen werden auf der Straße, nicht weil alle wissen, es ist nachhaltig, sondern weil es cool aussieht. Wie du sagst, ich will, dass es coole Leute tragen wollen. Und das will ich für immer. Und ich glaube, das ist etwas, was natürlich ist so dieses Nachhaltige etwas, oder bei mir vor allem das Soziale natürlich im Projekt, ist etwas, das ist unser Herzstück. Aber nicht jeder muss unbedingt dein Herz sofort kennen, um dich zu kaufen, sondern vielleicht einfach nur reicht es schon, dass das, was man sieht, sich identifiziert und das cool aussieht und du hast Bock darauf. Ich glaube, das ist so ein bisschen das, was vielleicht ein bisschen mehr spirituell in die Richtung oder in die Richtung gedacht ist, aber wo ich sagen kann, so kann ich mir vorstellen zu überleben, neben all diesen anderen Leuten und auch für länger, auch wenn der Trend nicht mehr da ist.
Ja. Sydney hatte sich noch gemeldet.
Ja, genau, ich finde das mega gut, was du sagst, es geht mir da nämlich genauso. Es ist gar nicht so, dass jetzt irgendwie H&M und so irgendwie Konkurrenz sind, weil wir unsere eigenen Nischen aufbauen und die halt bedienen, so, ne? Und ich denke, das ist eigentlich auch das Nachhaltige daran, oder wo ich mir vorstellen kann, in die Richtung wird es vielleicht viel eher gehen, dass wir den Markt diversifizieren, verstehst du? Dass wir immer weniger irgendwie so diese großen Monopole unterstützen, H&M, Amazon, whatever, und immer, weißt du, immer kleinere Businesses aufbauen und dadurch halt einen viel geileren Markt haben, der viel mehr diverse Leute bedienen kann. Ne? Weil letztendlich sind wir ja alle divers und irgendwie haben wir alle so unsere Charakteristiken und was wir gerne mögen, etc. etc. Und das kann H&M nicht immer alles bedienen. Ne? Die können sich dann versuchen, da irgendwie reinzukaufen oder sowas, aber letztendlich die Authentizität, ich weiß nicht, was ich gut ausgesprochen habe, die ist dann eher auf unserer Seite von Small Business Owners, die es wirklich irgendwie von Grund auf in die DNA ihres Businesses integriert haben, weißt du? Und da sehe ich ganz viel Zukunft drin. Ich denk, das wird die Richtung sein, die wir einschlagen, weil ich merke ja auch irgendwie jetzt so, ne, junge Leute und so, they don't care irgendwie, ob das jetzt eine große Brand ist. Sie wollen irgendwie was Geiles haben, das nicht jeder hat, das irgendwie sie anspricht, das mit denen resoniert und so. Ne? Deswegen, ich denke, das hat ganz viel mit Mindset zu tun. Und dann wird der Markt irgendwann ganz anders aussehen in 10 Jahren. Und dann werden wir darauf schauen und sagen, oh geil, das ist jetzt wirklich wie so ein Wald, weißt du, wo so ganz viele unterschiedliche Pflanzenarten wachsen und so, und nicht nur so ein Riesenbaum in die Höhe schießt, sondern so alles ein schönes Ökosystem ist.
Finde ich eigentlich auch ein schönes Schlusswort an dieser Stelle. Danke nochmal. Ja? Genau. Mikrofon.
Super, ich wollte einmal noch mal ganz kurz sagen, dass insgesamt die Panels, die ihr auch habt, eine große Offenheit aufzeigen und ich da einfach Danke sagen wollte. Ich finde das mega cool, weil zum Beispiel insgesamt die Messe, ich bin jemand, der sich eben sehr business, feminin, nachhaltig kleiden will, keine Ahnung hatte, wie ich dorthin komme, muss immer meine Schwester fragen, kauf mir irgendwas, zeig mir irgendwas. Funktioniert manchmal besser, manchmal schlechter. Das heißt, und hier dann gleichzeitig aber auch, weil eben es ist manchmal mega cool, der Print, und ich möchte aber niemandem zu nahe treten oder mir etwas aneignen oder es so gesehen wird, weil das ist ja nicht. Aber ich möchte es gleichzeitig unterstützen, weil ich es vielleicht cool finde, irgendein geiler Style ist, und so blöd es klingt, das zu dürfen, unter Anführungszeichen. Du sagst, nee, es ist cool, ich nehme das jetzt an, aber nicht, weil ich jetzt plötzlich eben irgendwie afrikanischstämmig bin, wenn ich das sagen darf, sondern weil es geiler Scheiß ist. Und diesen Mix, diese Kombination, die ihr hier aufmacht, komplett, finde ich einfach toll, und dass das Individuum, egal welchen Geschlechts, wie auch immer man sich identifiziert, auch gesehen wird. Also es ist echt ein cooles Package, und daher
voll
danke.
Gut. Wie war dein Name?
Annabelle.
Okay, aber wenn da noch so vielleicht nicht, Keller, vielleicht kannst du nochmal, du hattest es ja schon vorhin gesagt, aber im Grunde genommen war ja deine Position, solange es halt sich für die Person selber authentisch anfühlt und du nicht dich verkleidest, sondern einfach sagst, das, was ich gerne anziehe, dann ist es ja, also aus dem, wie du das erklärt hast, ja auch, like, why not? Like, jeder trägt, was er oder sie tragen möchte, solange es halt keine Parodie ist oder so.
Ich glaube, also jetzt mal gesehen auf, ich kann das nicht für jede Brand sprechen, ich kann das jetzt nur von unserer Seite aus sprechen. Ich glaube, unser Anspruch an das, was wir machen auch, ist, dass man die Note mitbekommt. Unsere Bildsprache ist auf jeden Fall very pro-black, auf jeden Fall. Aber wir haben unglaublich gut aussehende, blonde Frauen in unseren Sachen. Es sieht krass aus, sieht einfach krass aus, weil sie rocken das und es steht ihnen und es passt zum Stil. Und deswegen denke ich so, probier's an, schau, wie es aussieht und schau, wie du es mit deinen Vans, mit deinen Heels, mit deinen, weiß ich nicht was, kombinierst. Und wenn das du bist und du schaust dich im Spiegel an und sagst, das bin ich, cool, mach's, bitte. So, dann passt es, dann passt es.
Ich glaube, was eventuell passieren kann, manchmal ziehen manche Menschen manche Klamotten an, oh, ich bin jetzt auf diesem Event und dann ziehe ich mir das drüber, weil ich bin jetzt so im Afrofusion oder so. Und ich glaube wahrscheinlich eher, wenn man es halt so normal einfach tragen würde und es sich auch im Alltag und egal wo, dann ist es, glaube ich, was anderes, als wenn es halt eine Kostümierung ist, die man speziell für, okay, heute möchte ich so rüberkommen und heute möchte ich so rüberkommen. Das ist ja etwas, das können sich manche Leute gar nicht aussuchen, die sind halt immer schwarz und dann, oder was auch immer deren Identität ist, ist ja auch so mit, das ist auch eine ganz spannende Diskussion, das schaffen wir gar nicht mehr, aber auch so über so queere Klamotten sich aneignen, einer so queeren Ästhetik, aber selber nicht diese Identität zu haben, wo fängt es an, wo darf man Leuten auch nicht vorschreiben, wie sie sich experimentieren. Also danke nochmal für den Input, kann man jetzt später nochmal, jetzt in der Mittagspause, die jetzt dann gleich losgeht, drüber sinnieren und sprechen. Ich möchte euch nochmal darauf hinweisen. Erstmal danke, Applaus nochmal. Danke.